My opponent may say school uniforms restrict the First Amendment's freedom of expression, but I disagree, because it's stated by Amelia Gibbons. Students can wear a variety of expressive items, such as buttons or jewelry. This is significant because students can express themselves multiple different ways besides clothing. Therefore, school uniforms don't restrict the First Amendment's freedom of expression. My opponent may say school uniforms are racially discriminating, but I disagree. Based on my research, Bill Torby from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution states, the fact that minority kids more frequently must wear uniforms is not discriminatory. It may be a stab in the dark by parents and school officials looking for ways to improve learning and discipline, and it may or may not work. But it's not racism. The fact that uniform's purpose is to help kids learning and better discipline doesn't mean it's racially discriminating. Therefore, school uniforms are not racially discriminating. My opponent may say school uniforms are expensive, but I disagree, because school uniforms save parents money. According to the National Association of Elementary School Principals, the survey found that 94% of 517 U.S. school leaders surveyed believe that school uniforms are more cost-effective than regular apparel. The most logical conclusion we can draw from this is, since many school leaders are parents, and the parents of the students are paying for the uniforms, and we can conclude most parents believe uniforms are less expensive than regular clothing. Therefore, school uniforms are not expensive.
My teammates and I have stated 3 reasons why school uniforms should be enforced at Prairie Point. First, school uniforms will reduce the amount of bullying and peer pressure. This bullying and peer pressure occurs when students wear certain pieces of clothing. We created a survey asking multiple questions to students and teachers in 8th grade at Prairie Point about bullying. According to the results, 71.64% of students and teachers have witnessed someone being made fun of for their outfit at Prairie Point. This statistic is very high, and uniforms will help to get rid of this issue. Because of all the lessons our school has had on bullying, it shouldn't be occurring in the first place. However, since it is, we should take notice of this issue and require uniforms to end this harmful, cruel bullying. Not only do uniforms reduce bullying and peer pressure, but they also eliminate the time teachers spend enforcing dress code, making it easier for them. According to Mrs. Verkler's personal experiences, speaking individually to students in the hallway about whether their outfit is appropriate for school can sometimes be a little awkward, and it takes away learning time. When you want to have an uncomfortable conversation with your teacher talking about if what you're wearing is appropriate for school, learning can be taking place, and it would be much less problematic if we made uniforms mandatory at Prairie Point. To go along with that, violations of dress code can't occur, so students will no longer disobey. Uniforms will save the teachers and staff time to be teaching kids instead of having to talk to students privately about something that wouldn't happen if we had uniforms. Lastly, school uniforms will diminish criminal actions. These actions happen when students wear clothing that is disrespectful or offensive toward others. We do not want crimes to be taking place at our school. We want the safest environment possible which we could have by wearing uniforms. There are many benefits to wearing school uniforms, but one primary advantage to them is that helps students focus more in school. Karen Palchak, former board president of the Long Beach Unified School District, states, uniforms improve discipline, self-esteem, and self-respect. They focus attention upon learning and away from such distractions like fashion competition. This expert vote matters because this board principal has experienced uniforms and concluded that they create a better learning environment and make students more focused. This will eliminate distractions in class that regular apparel may create. According to a national 2013 survey, over 90% of U.S. school leaders believe school uniform or formal dress code policies eliminate wardrobe battles with kids, make it easier for kids to get ready in the morning, and create a time-saving uniform. This is important because school uniforms save time in the morning before school for students by avoiding the battle of choosing what clothes to wear. Uniforms can help students focus more on learning rather than how they are dressed because they don't have to worry about being made fun of for the outfit they picked out. Because of all the beneficial results, do you know how much better of a school uniforms can make? Uniforms should clearly be mandatory at Prairie Point Middle School. Uniforms will help our school reduce the amount of bullying. It will eliminate the time teachers spend enforcing dress code. The school uniforms will diminish criminal actions that does not give our school a positive reputation. A very wise author named Haiti Wills once said, "We can choose to be affected by the world, or we can choose to affect the world." We can affect our world by starting simple and making uniforms mandatory. Uniforms will eliminate multiple issues at Prairie Point, including each one that we previously covered. Would you rather sit around and watch these ridiculous actions keep happening at our school, or would you rather help the world gradually become a better place?
My opponent may say that school uniforms level the playing field and also bullying for students, but I'd have to disagree. Because according to Miami-Dade Country Public Schools Office, fights in schools have nearly doubled. Nearly doubled after the introduction of mandatory uniforms. School uniforms clearly do not level the playing field. If anything, they raise it, because students will try to prove themselves better than others. Students most likely feel like they don't have a say in anything, making them act out, increasing fights and bullying at school. Therefore, students' uniforms do not level the playing field and decrease bullying. My opponent may say uniforms make getting ready easier, but I have to disagree, because it affects students' self-image. Students may wear the same exact thing, and kids will be kids, and they will point out others' differences. A 2003 study by researchers at Arizona State found that students from schools without uniforms reported higher self-confidence scores than other students from schools with uniform policies. Therefore, school uniforms make students feel insecure about their bodies. My opponent may say that school uniforms do not affect students' freedom of expression, but I would have to disagree. For instance, take Regis Middle School for an example. In their handbook, it states, only natural foundation, cover-up, mascara, and clear lip gloss may be worn by girls. No makeup is allowed. Children aren't allowed to even express themselves in their looks, not just their clothing. Therefore, school uniforms do not impact students' freedom. Therefore, students' freedom is being violated and is not intact.
My opponents may say school uniforms save valuable learning time, but I would have to disagree. Tom Hubhan, former superintendent of schools in Oxford, New York, stated that school uniforms are a distraction from focusing on systematic and fundamental transformation to improve our schools, even though uniforms keep students focused on school, not their peers. They don't focus children on their education, more on the fact that quality and what is inappropriate and what is not. Our opening arguments clearly stated the following 3 reasons why not to support school uniforms. First, they do not teach children individuality because they cannot pick the color or slogan on their shirt. If it is so good having schools put in uniforms, why not make the rest of the country wear uniforms? Second, they racially discriminate due to the fact that diverse students are more likely to be singled out for breaking school uniform policies. It was observed at a school with uniform policies that an African American student will get punished for not wearing the right colored shirt, whereas the same colored shirt on a white student does not lead to further punishment. Third, school uniforms are an extra expense, since most students will still have casual clothing that they will wear outside of school. Lower income families, when forced to find uniforms, tend to buy them secondhand, which tends to further show financial inequalities between students rather than eliminating them. Furthermore, most students are against any school uniform or restriction on how they are supposed to dress. This is illustrated by a recent demonstration when 200 students walked out of class and marched to school headquarters to protest a rule requiring the students to tuck in their shirts. This is significant because it shows that students are protesting over the little things like uniforms when they really should be worrying about school. So are school uniforms going to take away distractions or add them? That first day that all of us are putting on our uniforms, I will expect all teachers to have shelled out the money to invest in uniforms, since we cannot have their individuality distracting us from our education.
I say school uniforms lower student self-esteem, but I disagree, because in the 2013 survey by the National Association of Elementary School Principals states 86% of school leaders said that school uniforms make a significant positive impact on peer pressure. and 64% said school uniforms reduce bullying. This is significant because many students have had a positive impact on peer pressure and bullying, causing to increase their self-esteem. Therefore, school uniforms don't lower your self-esteem. My opponent may also say, but didn't mention, that school uniforms lower academic achievement, but I disagree because according to researcher Virginia Draw found that overall graduation rates rose at an average almost of 11% in schools that implemented school uniforms, as opposed to schools without uniforms that saw a drop around 4.6% in graduation rates. This proves schools with uniforms have a better graduation rate than the schools who don't. Therefore, uniforms don't lower academic achievement. One argument my opponent failed to mention is school uniforms decrease violent attacks. Because according to Fresno Pacific University, schools even require students to have the belt line exposed at all times for the fear of guns being concealed under clothing. This is significant because the school uniforms cause students not to be able to bring guns to school without being caught, resulting in people's lives being saved. Therefore, school uniforms deter crime.